Yep. Okay, now you can go.
She's ready. Good evening. I'd like to welcome you to the June 25th, 2012 Washington City Council Workshop Meeting. Rose, could you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Freeman. Here. Councilmember Shoemaker.
Here.
Councilmember McDaniel.
Here.
Councilmember Lindsay.
Here.
Councilmember Greenlee.
Here.
Councilmember Plinsky.
Here.
Councilmember Russell.
Here. Thank you. Are there any members of the public this evening that would like to address council before we get started? Okay, seeing none, going to our business of the evening under the Finance Department City Council appointment process. Mrs. Forsberg.
Thank you. Good evening, Council and Mayor.
Good evening.
We have a PowerPoint that we put in the Dropbox earlier today. We just thought we would go over the process that we're going to go through next Monday for the appointment to replace Mr. Russell, as per your rules that were recently modified and approved. So basically, the interview process will be determined depending, obviously, on how many applications that we receive by tomorrow evening at 5. So far, we've received 4 applications. Depending on the number that we receive will depend on how much time each individual interview will take place. The order will be determined through a draw. We'll have a bowl with all the names in it. We'll pull them out and determine which order the candidates will be interviewed in. We'll have the 4 standard questions that were in the packet that was distributed. The mayor will ask those 4 questions, and then each council member will have a set determined amount of time and questions that they can ask each candidate as well. Questions, comments?
Jennifer, do you want council member questions to come to you ahead of time so that you've got a list of those?
That would probably be the best. That way we can keep track of ensuring that everybody's asked the same questions.
We don't have to have that, but that would be appreciated. But they could determine that in the spot as long as they ask the same question of each member. What we have to see is how many candidates there are so that we can determine how many of those there would be, but I would expect perhaps 1 question per council member. Unless there's a very small number, then we could potentially accommodate more than 1 question. Is this not working?
No, I can't.
I don't hear you.
It's not strong.
Okay. I need to get really close to it
There you
tonight. Okay. We don't have to have the questions in advance. Certainly that would be helpful, but we won't know how much time we'll be able to afford to that. It'll be a function of how many candidates we have, at least 1. But if there's a very small number of candidates, potentially 2, but we'll have to work out the timing for that. You could just determine what you want to ask moments before the first candidate. It's just as long as you ask that same question of each candidate. But if you know what you would like to ask, you can send an email to Jennifer if you would like, and we'd appreciate that.
Well, my other thought is then if Jen sees 2 of the same questions coming from council members, she can let them know that you're potentially asking the same question to one if you want to come up with something else. But
Correct. That's a good point.
Jennifer?
Yes. Do we have any idea how many applicants at this point?
We have 4
4.
so far, and it closes tomorrow at 5.
4. Okay.
We, per your rules, we're going to use the weighted ballot process to determine which 2 will be part of the, or which 2 will be the final 2 for vote. So what we're going to do is, after the interviews, each council member will write down which candidate they feel is number 1 and which is number 2. Number 1 will get 10 points, and number 2 will get 5 points, and then we'll add all of those up quickly and determine if there's a clear 1 and 2. That'll be great, nice and easy, and we'll go on to the final vote. If there aren't a clear 1 and 2, then we'll continue the weighted process until we have a clear 1 and 2 for the final vote. So it'll continue in the, okay, now here's the pool of people, A, B, and C. Pick 1 and 2. 1 will get 10, 2 will get 5, until we whittle it down to just 2 candidates. So depending on how well that goes. We could do the weighted average several times or just once, but we'll just keep going with it. And then have the final 2. With the weighted ballot process, we're going to have each council member speak their number 1 and number 2, and then turn their ballots in. And then with the final, oops, it's jumping ahead. In the event of a tie with the weighted ballot process, again, we won't have the mayor break that tie. We'll just continue doing the weighted method until we get to the 2 clear choices. With the final ballot process, we'll have a ballot issued to each one of you with both names. You'll mark 1 box for 1 vote, and those will get passed down to me. And then I will read off each council member's vote and hopefully declare the winner. If there's a tie, the mayor will be able to break that tie. So it should be a pretty simple process, hopefully. One thing to point out is with executive session, you can break out into executive session at any point to discuss the interviews. Obviously, all votes and whatnot will take place in here in a public setting, but you can discuss qualifications and questions in executive session and then come out into this arena and make your votes. Questions, comments?
One minor clarification on the initial weighted balloting process. You can put 2, but you do not have to put 2. You can just list 1 if you would prefer, and that's in your rules as well.
Dave?
If we put 1, does the 1 get all 15 points?
A first preference gets 10, so you would not be awarding 5 points if you just choose 1.
So Jennifer, you've got an opening from each of the candidates?
An
Or not?
opening.
Any opening statements or anything, or just the questions?
We will determine that process pursuant to your rules. You've delegated to the clerk, council, as you recall, establishing that process, which will be expedient and get through the total number of candidates in one evening. So if the number of candidates is manageable, we would look to design a process that provides for that, the questions, and then maybe a brief summary statement by the candidates.
Okay.
If the number of candidates is large, then we will be truncating that process to meet the council's wish to interview everyone. And keep in mind, council, that by your action that evening, you can choose to limit the number of candidates. You didn't want that specifically stated in your rules, but you always have the ability to do that and to use a process that you would devise at the time to make that screening, if you would.
Okay, Joe?
I'd like to go back and read those 4 questions that are on that application. Where's the application in the Dropbox? What, was that on a certain date that you
That
can
would have been
give
on
me?
the 4th, I believe.
Worst case, it's on the city's website.
Oh, it's right there. That would be
Yeah,
easy,
it'll-
wouldn't it? Okay.
I believe it was on the meeting of June 4th that you adopted those rules, so that should be in your packet from that evening.
Okay.
Joyce?
If for any reason, could we open the application process again if we wanted to?
Yes. You are not required to seat somebody next week.
Paul?
If there's time, and we're not swamped, I'd like to build in an opportunity for the top 2 to have, for more questioning or an opportunity to speak or something.
Right. The process, the rules actually are fairly explicit on this. It's very open-ended, though, for the clerk to figure it out, but it talks about the council asking additional questions. We could try to build in not just responding to questions, but having another opportunity to make some kind of a comment.
Perfect, thank you.
Good, Joe?
When will we be informed of who those 4 applicants are?
Well,
I was gonna say that.
whatever the number of applicants are
Well,
tomorrow after
yeah.
5 o'clock.
So someone will,
We're going to send you a list of the names of the candidates and place their application packets in the Dropbox as soon after 5 o'clock as we can. We'll have it all ready to go. If we get some right at the last minute, we'll have to scan those in,
Right.
and then we'll get those out to you. There'll be an email to you. Then we will have a press release that will have the list of names.
Good, thank you.
Jennifer, did you have something?
I was just going to mention the press release tomorrow, but Dave took care.
Other questions from council? Clarifications? Anything you absolutely want to maybe have Jennifer consider putting in the process? Okay,
All right.
thank you very much. On to Finance Department update.
All right. I just thought that I would give you an update as to where what we're up to in the finance department. If you remember back when I was hired, one of the first things that the mayor and David asked me to do was review the department. There was 3 management positions at that time and 3 staff positions. So they wanted me to kind of look at that and see what the most effective and efficient manner of the finance department would be. You know, is it the current setup? Is it some other configuration? So I've been working on that. Again, originally there were 6 FTE, finance director, assistant finance director, and accounting manager were all the management positions. And then there was an executive assistant, accounting specialist, and accounting clerk 2 position. We've had a few interim steps along the way with different positions vacating to get us where we are today. And what we've come up with for the current staffing is taking that down to 1 management position and 5 line staff positions. It's the same number of FTE, but a different composition to make sure that we're operating as efficiently and effectively as possible. We are in the interview process for both a new clerk position and another accountant position, and so we'll be hopefully filling those in the near future. But it's been a excellent review, going through and trying to figure out what the best positions should be to get the finance department up to speed and fully functioning to ensure that we're operating at a fast enough pace for all the different projects going on and regulations that are required from the state. And I think we are well on our way to get to that nice oiled machine and moving right along.
Jennifer?
Would you expect that certain particular positions would focus on certain areas, as you were talking about reporting and such? Or would they all be capable of?
For,
Filling
like, the
in for one
accounting
another.
clerk would be more of the receiving at the front desk, more of those types of jobs. The new accountant will probably assist more with the utilities, doing some of those analysis is kind of my vision. It kind of depends on which person, what their strengths are when they come in. But that's some of my ideas, to have more assistance in the utility side for
Would that,
those types of analysis.
You're talking about the 2 city accountant positions there. I'm just trying to figure out about job descriptions.
Mhm.
And are they flexible, or are they all pretty much the same?
Oh,
And then the
they're-
duties would be different?
For the 2 accountants,
Mhm.
they are the same job description, but they're really broad. Obviously, they don't do everything that's in their job description, so they'll work together. Some will do some and some will do the other, but we did shoot for the moon in the job description with the accountant position to encompass all the high-level analytical type work. But obviously, one person isn't going to do all of that. They'll separate those out.
Typically, each member of your staff, though, are assigned particular duties, but everybody's pretty much cross-trained, so that when we've got
Correct.
folks on vacation, sick, or
Right.
that kind of thing, anybody can
Right.
fill in, but if somebody's doing a particular job, they would normally do it Monday through Friday.
Correct.
Joyce?
I'm assuming this different configuration is a cost savings for the city.
Correct. There is a cost savings.
Other questions from council in regards to the reallocation in finance? Couldn't you?
Did you say how soon it would be till you fill these positions?
As soon as possible. We have done the accountant interviews, and we're pending a few things on that. We'll see. And then the accounting clerk position interviews are Monday. So we do have a our current city accountant is due in August, so we definitely need to get someone in here shortly to pick up those duties while she's off. But sooner is better, but we're taking it slow to make sure we get the right person, too. We want to make sure we get a good fit that'll be a benefit to staff and the citizens of Washougal.
The number of applications you got for the city clerk, or the clerk position?
The clerk position, we had 126 applications to go through.
Wow. No, thank you. This is just a question. I'm not trying to figure out, why you would hire someone, but would you want to hire someone that had worked for a city and had been through a budget process before, or is that something you take into consideration?
Definitely for the accountant position, looking at some of those skills of where they've worked before and what experience they have and can hit the ground running. But on the flip side, there's a lot of good folks, on paper anyway, that had some great skills to offer as well in the private sector. Some of the rate analysis and utility analysis studies that we've done, there were some interesting applicants in the freight business where they had to do cost of service with, doing tugs and stuff like that. So getting some of that equivalent experience would be a benefit as well.
Any other questions? Okay. That takes care of our other business. We're at that point in the agenda again for any public comments from members of the public. Okay. Seeing none, we will move to the mayor's report. I have one item this evening. Councilmember Russell, if you join me in the front of the room. Certificate for you this evening, certificate of appreciation presented to John Russell. The City of Washougal, on behalf of its citizens, recognizes your 6 years of outstanding service on the City Council, presented by the City of Washougal, June 25th, 2012. Thank you. You're welcome. Goodie. And also, the lovely Crystal. Okay, it's acrylic.
Wait, can y'all stand there for?
Yes.
Oh, we're doing 2 different sides. Okay. Let me do 2
Raise that
different shots.
microphone in the shot.
And let me do one more. It's gonna take a second. Okay. Good job. Yes.
John, the floor is yours.
Absolutely. Speech. The floor.
Thank you for that award, and thank you to the city staff and the mayor for the great job you guys have done over the last 2 years. You have guided our city out of some unfortunate circumstances into a period of recovery, and I want to thank you. Because of your leadership, we have made improvements in the city.
Thank you.
I'm going to go through each council member and just say a few words, parting words. Start with Connie Jo. You have been my friend and supporter for many years. Your optimism and strength kept me going in hard times and in good times. You have impressed me with your ability to execute plans and your ability to learn quickly. It's been an honor to serve with you. Dave, been my loyal friend. Many years separate us in age, but if I had an older brother, I'd want him to be like you. And your world experience has broadened my expectations of life. It has been an honor to know you and your wife. Thank you for that opportunity. Jennifer, your kindness and steadiness have proven to be a source of strength for me and this council. I look forward to seeing your political future and where things go with your life. And it's been great to get to know your family as well. Sean, you have had to navigate through some rough waters through a time of transition for our city. You have been a good caretaker of the position of mayor, and you have helped the city government improve its functionality and to do more with less. Thank you.
Thank you.
Joyce, you have been a very kind-hearted person and a joy to work with. You have been a welcomed addition to this council. I only wish, the only bittersweet part of that is I only wish you and Michael Delaware both could be on the council. Both of you serving, because you both impressed me with your friendliness. And it is definitely a very good attribute of yours. Paul, I will never forget when I had the honor of voting for you for your appointment to council. You have always been a helpful person. At every turn, you have been willing to serve whenever needed, and I admired that selflessness in you. And I would never take that vote back. Karen, you have brought a gentle spirit to the council, and you have been a quick study, and I look forward to seeing you become a leader on this council. Thank you for your willingness to run and to serve. Thank you all for the opportunity to just be with you in just a small part of this journey. And I'll look forward to watching how Washougal continues to grow and continues to change and be rooting you on from the outside. So, thank you.
Thank you for those thoughtful comments, John. Are there any other items from other council members? Dave?
I've seldom had the opportunity in my 71 years to work with someone who has the intellectual capacity and the heart and the principles that John Russell has. He's a principled individual. I've enjoyed working with him. I've learned a great deal from him. He has identified me as a mentor. I have looked to him to be my mentor. He's the one that recruited me for this council. One night I complained to him when I was the liaison from the Planning Commission to the council. I said, you know, you guys keep overturning the Planning Commission. Why do you do that? And he said, well, do something about it. What did you have in mind? He said, run for council. I hadn't the slightest idea how to do it. He showed me. He's been a wonderful mentor. And John, I will miss you and your family.
Just real quick, I just wanted to add, my wife and my children are here also. This last 6 years would not have been at all possible without the support of my wife and also my little children. Eve and Emma are here, and my wife Sarah. And I want to thank you, well, also publicly.
Are there any other items? We are adjourned. Till next week.
That needs are you documenting that photo? There we go.
I don't need to be in every single one of your pictures.
Ah, thank you.
Which one's on the left?
Okay.
Yeah, really?
Okay.